Let's take a look at some more common cards from Magic the Gathering's history and see if any of them are good in the Pauper format. Maybe find some hidden gems. Maybe find some super staples that you weren't aware of. Or maybe we just find a bunch of garbage. They're common, so we might find more garbage than good stuff. But we'll start with Cliff Haven Sellsword. It's 1 and a white for a 3/1 core warrior. And that's all it does. I had, I think I have this built online. I certainly did not build it in paper, but I have. I believe it's a Jasmine Boreal. It's not just Jasmine Boreal, because that's like a Legends card, right? Yeah, it's not just Jasmine Boreal. It's Jasmine Boreal of the 7. That's it. Creatures you control with no abilities can't be blocked by creatures with abilities. I very much considered making a commander deck around Jasmine and putting just big vanilla creatures in there and see what happens. There's a couple, and like putting Anthem effects, which would give your creatures power boosts without giving them extra abilities. I thought that would be fun. It probably wouldn't be good, but like a guy like this would probably show up in a deck like that. As a cheap guy who could, do 3 damage for 2 mana. Okay. In Pauper, nothing bad. You're just not going to play a vanilla creature like this. You just wouldn't. It's a 1.2, I guess. I mean, it does have 3 power. That's not nothing, but no, bad card. Get to the point, which I'm sure is what you guys tell me. I yell at your screens every time I look at a card here. But Get to the Point is an instant that costs 3 black-red. That's Rakdos mana. And you destroy target creature and scry 1. 5 mana to destroy a creature and a scry at instant speed. But 5 mana to destroy a creature. Not very good. I mean, the card is, the text is short. It got to the point, but it's bad. This is pretty bad. Let's give this a 1.8. And it really only gets that because it's a removal spell generally. But it's pretty bad. Badger Mole. Here's a newish card, or not a newish card. This is a brand new card when I'm recording this from Avatar: The Last Airbender. Badger Mole is 4 and a green for a 4/4 Badger Mole. Go figure. When this creature enters Earthbend 2, it makes target land you control become a 0/0 creature with haste that's still a land. You put 2 +1/+1 counters on it, and when that land dies or is exiled, return it to the battlefield tapped. And then creatures you control with +1/+1 counters on them have trample. We've seen that effect on a number of cards. Dust Shell, Crawler. I was just looking at one yesterday. That guy from Modern Horizons 3, or is it Foundations? I can't remember. Doesn't matter. Gnarlid Colony, something like that. Anyway, it's okay. This is okay. I mean, you get a decently statted creature, 4/4 for 5, and then you get also a 2/2 creature. So it's like you're getting 6. Oh, you are getting 6 power for 5 mana. That's not nothing. And the 2/2 has trample. I guess that's also a little bit of something, I suppose. Certainly not as good as Badger Mole Cub, which we see in standard right now, tearing it up, which is a much better card. That's a mythic though. But the common, this is all right. Again, I think you'll see. I don't think you actually see this, but I could see this in Jund Wildfire decks, being able to turn your indestructible lands into indestructible creature lands. Okay, that's all right. Maybe boosting them up even more. Like Earthbending has some real potential in Pauper, I think, because of the proliferation of artifact dual lands, the bridges. Is this the one that really makes it work though? And I don't think so. I mean, if you're in a Wildfire deck, you're using Wildfire to get more mana on the board, so you could cast this earlier. I think there are better earthbending cards than this in Pauper. And there's not a whole lot that are Pauper legal, but I think there are still some that are a little bit better than this. Let's give this thing a 3.5 because it's really not that bad. I'm going to boost it up even more. I'm going to give it a 3.8, but it's okay. Cloakwood Swarmkeeper. Here is a Pauper Magic the Gathering card for sure. It's a single green mana for a 1/1 Elf Ranger. And it has Gathered Swarm. Whenever one or more tokens you control enter, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. You see this a decent amount, especially lately. I think we've gotten more and more cards that continue to synergize with this. This one works great with any of the Eldrazi kind of ramp decks. You've got Nest Invader. So here's the idea: you play this on 1. On turn 2, you play Nest Invader. Maybe we should just look up these cards to be sure. Not to be sure, but just so to show you. You play Nest Invader. 2 mana. When it enters, you make a spawn token that can sack for a mana. So this is making that token awesome. Turn 3, even though you'll have the spawn there, so you could play something even bigger. But let's say you're still just playing on regular curve. Well, you could play Eldrazi it's O. I wanted O, or I wanted U there. You could play Eldrazi Repurposer anytime. Oh, well, I have to spell Eldrazi correct as well. That's even the bigger problem. Eldrazi Repurposer. When that comes into play, when I cast this spell and when it dies, you make a spawn. Okay, now we're talking. That makes another one, potentially another 2 if this thing dies. And then, okay, well, now you're on turn 4. Now you're really cooking. You'll play your Writhing Chrysalis. This makes 2 Eldrazi spawns when it comes into play, and now you can start sacrificing all those Eldrazi spawns and putting a bunch of +1/+1 counters on this guy. And your Swarmkeeper is also getting big, and that was your 1-drop, remember? So now you've got a bunch of big creatures here. And if you're still searching for some cards, you can certainly play Malevolent Rumble on 2, because that puts a bunch of cards into your graveyard, and then you can bring a permanent card back to your hand. But also, you put a 0/1 colorless Eldrazi spawn out there, so you are making a token as well. Continue to build up your Swarmkeeper. And you know what? While you're at it, why not just play a Colony Gardens in part of your mana base? It's a land that is also making a 0/1 plant token, so you're getting tokens constantly. There's so many ways of making tokens, and this was mostly just in mono green. Writhing Chrysalis needs the red, so you can find ways of making that work as well. But just think about that kind of curve, and that makes your 1-drop just so incredibly powerful. Kind of no matter when you play it in the game. Even if you played it later, it's just really easy to boost up and up and up. And also, very key, does not say once per turn. It only triggers once per turn, which is huge. Now, it has to be on your turn. No, not even that. Whenever one or more tokens you control enter, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Wow, this thing's good. This thing is good. I have not made this deck yet, but I've thought a lot about this deck. I think this just puts so much pressure on an opponent from an aggro standpoint. You're making a bunch of mana with those spawns. You're able to ramp up and really play some big spells early. Play some giant colorless spells if you wanted to really play some of the Eldrazi stuff. You could certainly do that with like Ulamog's Crusher. Very straightforward kind of deck, and could be disrupted by opponents for sure, but there is a lot of value there. And also a lot of those Eldrazi, the Repurposer and the Writhing Chrysalis, those spawns come in on cast, so even if the opponent counters the spell, you still get the spawns, which is what this guy cares about. This is a valuable card. In fact, I do not own copies of this card. I'm going to write it down so I buy some copies of this card. Cloakwood Swarmkeeper. It's so much value on a single card, especially as a 1-drop. Like a great 1-drop on 1. Like sure you could play like Land of War Elves or something, and that's also a pretty great 1-drop on 1 historically. But I think knowing that you can eventually get your 1-drop to be a 5/5, a 6/6, and just swing in for really big damage, it just puts so much pressure. I think this is a fantastic card. I'm going to give it a. Man, what am I going to give it? I want to give it something really high while also leaving room for other cards that are still better than this for sure. But I'm going to give this a 7.8. I think this is a really good card. 7.8. Maybe even higher. Should I just give it the 8? I'm just going to give it the 8. I think it deserves it. Great card. Best card we'll see today, almost assuredly. Watchful Giant is 5 and a white for a 3/6 giant soldier. When this creature enters, you create a 1/1 human creature token. Not great. And you get 4/7 worth of stats for 6 mana. Not amazing. Just vanilla at that point. I guess you could blink it or something and get more 1/1s, but nah. I mean, it blocks for days, sure, but you could do better. We'll give this a 1.9. No, I'll go ahead and just give it a straight 2. Straight 2. Cyclops of One-Eyed Pass is 2 and double red for a 5/2 Cyclops. That's all it is. That is all it is. Fun art. That's about it. 1 penny. 1 penny for this card. And honestly, might be asking a little too much for it. We'll give this guy... I mean, 5 power is okay. And while 2 toughness is pretty bad, if you're in red, you probably have ways of clearing the opponent's board of creatures, so you just swing in for big chunks of 5. I guess that's good enough to give it like a 1.4, 1.5. I'll give it a 1.5, but it's still very, very bad, very stinky. Boiler Bilge's Ripper is 4 and a red for a 4/4 human assassin. When this creature enters, you may sacrifice another creature or permanent. When you do, this creature deals 2 damage to any target. It's a little bit better. I think it's better than that Cyclops we just saw. 4/4 is a relatively beefy creature. I like that it can sacrifice a creature or an enchantment. There's not a whole lot of stuff that sacrifices enchantments in Pauper. Or even in Magic generally. So as having that be an option is kind of cool. It is an assassin, I suppose, if you care about outlaws, which you probably shouldn't have to care about outlaws, but it is one if you need it to be. And a little 2 damage when it comes into play. I think if this said artifact instead of enchantment, it would probably be better because you'd get rid of all your little map tokens and stuff like that. But it's from Duskmourn, which is a set that is much more about enchantments than it is about artifacts. And there are plenty of enchantments that you can also play in Pauper. But yeah, he's okay. He's okay. I'll give him a 2.8. Next up. Detained by Legionnaires is 1 and a white for an enchantment aura. Enchanted creature can attack or block. That is a pacifism. They just made pacifism in an Assassin's Creed costume. Pacifism does not get played in Pauper anymore, which is sad. Isn't that sad? Pacifism is such a classic card. I just want you to, in case you haven't seen pacifism for a while, I want you to remind you about pacifism. Not this one, not this one, not that one, not the one from Foundations, which is the same one from Ikoria. This Jumpstart one's fine. It's whatever. Yeah, these are whatever. These are not this boy. I mean, we want the Mirage one. Let's go to the Mirage one, right? Like that's this boy. Look at him, Grack. Look at Grack. Look at what they've taken from us. We used to have pacifism that was playable. And now it's not, because you play Journey to Nowhere, which just exiles the creature. You don't have to care about it attacking or blocking, because it can't do any of those things when it's exiled, but it also can't use its triggered abilities or its tap ability, activated abilities, none of that stuff. So pacifism's just right out of the format, but Oh, pacifism. I do miss it. I'm shocked they have not made a Grack card. That feels like that should have been in like a Modern Horizon set, right? We should have gotten some legendary creature Grack that maybe is like really powerful. Maybe he doesn't have any maybe he's just a vanilla creature. Maybe he's like a giant vanilla creature. So that if you used pacifism on him, it would totally pacify him. Like you don't want to give him activated or triggered abilities because that would be because then he wouldn't care if a pacifism is put on him. Like you want him to be, I don't know, like a 9/6 or something like that, and he just comes out swinging. But you pacify him, and he goes, "Ah, okay, well, I guess I can't do anything," and he has to start feeling warm and fuzzy. Anyway, that's just me dreaming. If I got to make magic, that's what I'd do. But I don't get to make magic. I just get to talk about it. Detained by Legionnaires, pretty bad card. Um, let's give it a. I guess I have to give it the same. Ooh, I have to give it the same score that I would give pacifism. But pacifism gets like brownie points for being rad. I'll give Detained by Legionnaires a 2.2. Next up is Opal Caryatid, which is a single white mana for an enchantment. When an opponent casts a creature spell, if this permanent is an enchantment, it becomes a 2/2 soldier creature. That's actually not terrible. You play this on one in a white deck. It counts any sort of enchantress style effects that you've got going on. No, on one, you probably don't have any enchantress style effects out on the battlefield before you play this. But it's still like you get the option of playing this later that can trigger enchantress effects. There aren't a ton of enchantress effects in Pauper; those are higher rarity ideas, but still, as a potential idea, just go with me on this. But if you do get to play this on one, creatures are incredibly popular in Pauper. There are some creatureless combo effects where creatures are not as necessary in some Pauper decks, but almost like the vast majority of Pauper decks will have creatures of some sort in them, and so this card will cost you 1 mana and become a grizzly bear. You got half price on a grizzly bear. It's not too bad. Now, your opponents, especially if you play this later, is a vanilla 2/2 that big of a deal? No. And also your opponents can play around it a little bit where they're just not playing creatures anymore. Sorry. It's also a cast, so if they have other ways of putting creatures into play, that doesn't help. That doesn't make this turn this into the creature either. You're putting the onus back on the opponent. I never like doing that. I don't want the opponent to get choices about how they can best play. I would rather get choices about how I can best play and mess up my opponent. So it's not great, but there are, in like the dream scenario, you play this on one, they play their goblin or whatever on turn one, and this thing turns into a 2/2. Cool. Still not all that great in the grand scheme of things, right? Like at that point, how much better is this than a Savannah Lions, a 1 mana 2/1? It'll probably do all the same trading that this will, but your opponent doesn't even get the option of when to turn this into a creature. Pretty bad. 1.3. Titanic Brawl is our final card of the day. It is one and a green. I almost said white, and then I almost said blue. It's green, obviously. 1 and a green for an instant. The spell costs 1 less to cast if it targets a creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it. And target creature you control fights target creature you don't control. I get where this is coming from, but we just have better cards than this, right? Is Rabid Bite a sorcery? It is a sorcery, and that deals damage equal to power. So it's better than fighting, but it's sorcery speed. So I get why you don't do that. But I don't know, man. Just play Bushwhack. Bushwhack can fight for a single mana. Also, it's sorcery speed, so I get that's not perfect. But it could also find you a basic land, which is sometimes pretty usable. The idea that Okay, I guess you can cast this for a single green if you got a creature with a +1/+1 counter on it. There are ways of making +1/+1 counter decks, so sure, sure. I would still generally prefer a bite effect over a fight effect. Um, it's okay. It's okay. It's a pretty good green removal spell. I just think we've gotten better green removal spells. Actually, here's the one I'm really looking for is Ram Through. Ram Through is same cost, also at instant speed, deals damage equal to its power, so it's a bite effect. But it also has if the creature has trample, you get excess damage dealt to the opponent. That's not always going to happen, but that is an instant speed bite effect. So it does a little bit more. Now, if you have the +1/+1 counter on the creature, this obviously is a little bit better. Sometimes, again, that if you do the fight, your creature could also die. I see people play Ram Through. I do not see people play Titanic Brawl. I'll give Titanic Brawl a 2.9. 2.9. And we'll do a bonus card, wrap this up, maybe with something a little better. It's Phyrexian Ghoul. Ah, man, I like Phyrexian Ghoul. I don't know if it's a good card in I mean, it's not a terrible card. We'll talk about it. Phyrexian Ghoul is 2 and a black for a 2/2 Phyrexian zombie. You can sacrifice a creature, and this creature gains +2/+2 until end of turn. Free sacrifice outlet. That's nothing to sneeze at. It costs 3, and we have some other sacrifice outlets that cost 1. So that makes it a tougher sell. Um, but getting +2/+2 for each creature can get you a really big Phyrexian Ghoul if you needed to. Your opponent's going to feel like they have to block this because if they don't block it, you can power this through the moon and do a bunch of damage to them. But they're also going to not want to block this because you can sacrifice a bunch of creatures and make this creature giant, so you avoid the trade. So you just force them to chump block. And I like putting an opponent in a really tough situation like that. That's pretty good. That could be very powerful. And we've seen how like how prevalent something like Colony Gardens and Eldrazi Spawn token. Like there's plenty of little creature tokens that you can put on the board and sacrifice them all to the Phyrexian Ghoul to do something real big. He's not bad. He doesn't get played that much, even in the deck that would really want him, like a mono black sacrifice deck. People just kind of play Carrion Feeder instead. That comes down faster and can get really big. It puts counters on the creature instead of just the temporary boost, and that can matter as well over the course of a longer game. But I think Phyrexian Ghoul is a perfectly fine Magic card. I have a lot of fondness for it. I will give this thing a 4.2, and I think we call it there. Thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you next time. Bye.